Hey guys, welcome to Midwest Fantasy Football Season 8, the draft recap. I'm planning to just talk through a couple of the team situations, make a few jokes here and there where I think I might fit. Here's a quick summary of what I plan to highlight during this. I'm going to compare actual dollars spent to what Yahoo thought players were actually worth, what they were actually valued at. I'm going to identify each team's best bargain player, the player that they got for the most under Yahoo's projections.
It's boring. You're boring everybody. Quit boring everyone.
Okay, Homer, I agree. If I include keepers, it's just going to be a list of every team's best keepers, so those players we're going to throw out. The same doesn't really apply for the opposite, which is the biggest overpay that each team had. The worst offender? Not who you think it is. I'll also be highlighting the number of $30 players on each team, as well as the number of $0 players on each team, to show who got a lot of studs and who got some long shots. The $30 threshold is just something that I made up when I started entering numbers. I thought that looked like a decent threshold. Oh, where shall we start? Maybe with the deuce?
Deuce.
It seemed like as good a spot as any. Last season's last place finisher, the Deuce seemed to be on the rebound after the draft, grabbing 4 $30 players and currently rostering no $0 player. He's got lots of good talent on the roster this year and opted to skip the long shots in order to make sure he stays out of the basement this year. Picking up Curtis Samuel for $13 under his expected draft cost may help, which was the third best underpay in the league. The draft pick of LaShawn McCoy cost $8 more than expected for your biggest overpay, but with his departure from the less than impressive Bills offense over to the high-powered offense in Kansas City, even though he's probably in a timeshare now, this may end up being a better deal than expected. Additionally, that $8 overspend, lowest overspend in the league for any single player this year. Yahoo expected that your total player haul would have cost you around $249 on the $178 that you actually spent. Moving on to Lee, Yahoo wasn't a big fan of the players you drafted this year, as it thought Deshaun Jackson was the best bargain on your squad, saving a measly $4 under anticipated cost, which is tied for the worst best buy in the league. As for your overpaid player, Mark Ingram's $45 cost was $22 over what Yahoo thought you should be able to get this for. Now, Yahoo's values don't factor in the keeper situation, and we all know that available backs go for quite a bit more than they would normally expect to with no keepers involved. So I'd expect to see a lot of running backs, wide receivers continue to pop up at this position for the worst overpay. Yahoo thought you had 2 $30 players and 1 $0 player, the timeless Jason Witten. Your expected cost this season was $171, but it took you $20 more than that to complete that roster. However, that $171 includes Yahoo's expectation of 0 for Lamar Miller, so you were probably closer to even, or maybe even on the positive side factoring that in. I'm sure there's a few people rooting for you here to finally cash out some of that money this season that you've been paying in for the last couple years. Speaking of which, here's a special message on that topic just for you.
Hello, Lee. I know you've been struggling to win money in your fantasy football league. 6 long years. You've wandered through the desert of poverty in search of salvation. I called in a favor from Dad. He's going to pull some strings for you this season. Praise be. Jesus out.
Thanks, Jesus. Next up, we have Josh with what appears to be one of the strongest drafts in recent years. Or was it? Yahoo doesn't necessarily think so, grading you out to be the only owner in the league with 0 $30 players. Very much a balanced attack and a lot less of a stars and scrubs approach. It did hit you with a single $0 player, which was Mason Crosby. That doesn't really make a ton of sense because he's the 7th ranked kicker, and at least there's 10 teams, so that should have 10 kickers. So you'd think at least you'd pay $1 for that one. Whatever. So you got a pass there. O.J. Howard was your best bargain player. You grabbed him for $9 under his expected draft cost versus Jarvis Landry, who Yahoo thought was your overpaid by $13 too much. Overall, Yahoo thought your draft was worth $197, and you spent $200, so...
We thought it was quite expensive, but it sounds as if we got a bargain.
On to Brandon, who according to Yahoo's total player value had the best draft. Coming in with a whopping $274 of expected player cost, despite only spending $200, he found good value in picking up Lamar Jackson for $7 less than Yahoo would have expected. However, the 46 that you spent on Josh Jacobs was 23 over the expected cost, according to Yahoo. Josh Jacobs will be good, but I don't know if he's going to be a once-in-a-generation kind of player. Yahoo thought you had 3 players worth at least $30 on your roster and no $0 players, which probably contributed to the overall health of your draft score. Not drafting a kicker also probably helped there, as you could inflate your overall totals by excluding a traditional $1 roster spot. A secret you must have shared with Derek, Pope 1.0, and Alex, who all foregoed drafting a kicker.
Well, it's no secret that the best thing about a secret is secretly telling someone your secret, thereby secretly adding another secret to their secret collection of secrets. Secretly.
Moving on to Alex. According to the Primetime Draft software, factoring in both keepers and the players just drafted, Alex had the worst grade, a D-. Yahoo didn't disagree, listing your roster out with a total value of $170 of value compared to the $195 that was spent. Alex was unable to find a lot of value in his best player, getting only $4 gained on Josh Gordon, tying Lee for the worst bargain player. Philip Lindsay's cost was $22 over expected value. Alex had 2 $30 players and 2 $0 players, a former Packer in Randall Cobb and a current Packer in Jake Kumerow. At this point, Alex has a decent head start on the 2019 Deuce race. Unless he's busy playing 4D chess, well, we're all busy playing checkers. Pope 2.0 got a solid grade from the draft software. Yahoo's draft day predictions slide him in at the 5 spot in team positional rankings. He didn't find a ton of value in a bargain player, saving only $5 on Kiki Kuti, while putting up the 3rd highest overspend on a single player, being only one of 3 owners to spend more than $30 over the projected cost of a player, overspending by $31 on Mike Evans. He joins Pope 1.0 with the 5 other owners who have 4 $30 players on their rosters. He did come out with a single $0 player, former Badger running back Dari Ugumbawale. During the course of Googling for this video, I found out that he has a sister that plays in the WNBA, named Arike. At this point, she's considerably more famous than he is, since she hit 2 game winners in March Madness for the NCAA women's tournament a couple years ago, including this one to win the national championship.
Ogumbawale for the win.
I'm sure no one bothered paying attention to it since it was Notre Dame, and fuck Notre Dame. Pope 2.0 got $216 of value for his budget of $192, being limited by the $8 penalty from cutting Big Ben a couple of years ago. What do you think, dude? No? You don't want to hang out? Steve's being camera shy. On to Derek. Derek had the second best draft, according to Yahoo, pulling in $262 worth of value for his $196 spend, led by the best bargain that any owner got, which was $15 saved on Robbie Anderson under his projected cost. That nicely offset the $10 he overspent on A.J. Green. Derek has 3 $30 players on his roster and no $0 players. He's one of only 4 owners who are currently rostering no $0 players, the others being Pope 1.0, Brandon, and Jason. This was written at the time of the draft when the rosters were locked. I know positions have changed since then. People have added and dropped, so that may not be true anymore, but at the time of the draft, that's the way it was.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Yahoo's very confused about what to do with my team. On one hand, I had the second best bargain player, getting Christian Kirk for $14 less than expected. I overspent on Latavius Murray by $11. I have 4 players in the $30 price club, 2 players in the $0 club, which one being Matt Bryant, the kicker, who wasn't technically on a roster when I drafted him and has now been signed to be the kicker for Atlanta this season, so I think that's probably okay. And one being the Dallas defense, who I fully plan to cut a week or 2 into the season and swap for somebody else. And Yahoo believes that I will go 0-13, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the second year in a row that the projections have absolutely hated my team. It sure would be nice if Melvin Gordon would hurry up and show up for the season. I feel like this clip sums up the current state of the Gordon-Chargers negotiation after San Diego told Melvin he can go seek trade partners for the Chargers.
Collect your personal belongings, Gordon. Yes, sir, Mr. Ducksworth. Thank you very much, Mr. Ducksworth. Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth. Quack, 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 quack,
Gordon,
quack.
stop
Quack, quack,
quacking.
quack. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. You may have paid for this jersey, sir, but you didn't earn it.
Yes, I named my fantasy team after Gordon Bombay from the Mighty Ducks. There are going to be a ton of Mighty Ducks clips this year. Get used to it. Greatest movie of all time. Or as Nick likes to call it, the greatest documentary of all time. I got a total of $235 for my $200 budget. Next up, Hootie and the T-Blowfish squad, led by Nick. His best bargain player was Darrell Henderson, who he got for $6 under the expected cost. And his biggest overspend was on Leonard Fournette, who went for $29 over expected cost, getting just under that magical $30 number that I've been using for most of the player comparisons today. His team got a total value of only $180 on a $200 spent, largely due to the sudden retirement of Andrew Luck. There's that exact $20 if I'm not mistaken. Nick had two $30 players and two $0 players. The wide receiver Marquise Brown and Green Bay's defense, who I have no idea why you picked up because they're going to be terrible. On to our top three from last year. The third place team of Chris only had a team value of $228 on his $200 budget. This is likely due to the best bargain player he drafted being Dante Moncrief for a $6 value. Chris was the owner of the biggest overspend on a single player, spending $37 more than expected to acquire the service of Todd Gurley. This likely kept his draft rate down. I'm sure he's probably fine with having the triple threat of Kamara, Johnson, and Gurley.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
With Chris's keepers and the buy of Gurley, Chris had 4 players in the $30 club. Chris definitely likes to take his long shots at the beginning of a season, and this season was no exception. Currently, he has 4 $0 players, more than double any other owner in the league. Chris took long shots on New England's D, A.J. Brown, Bryce Love, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. At least one of those is a defense, so whatever. One long shot is already headed for the pup list, which was Bryce Love. He's not even going to play this season. Who knows what's going to happen with A.J. Brown and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I hope I don't have to say that name a lot this year. Both look to have made rosters at this point, so we'll see what those two rookies can do this season. Steve Cat has a basket over there now. Oh, there he is. Last year's runner-up, Jason, got a $7 bargain on Allen Robinson and overspent by just a touch on DeAndre Hopkins to the tune of $32 over his expected cost. Slightly better than Chris's $37 overbuy on Gurley. Jason had 4 $30 players and 0 $0 players, leading to a total expected roster value of $241 on his $194 spend. Not bad considering the overspend on Hopkins. Jay versus Chris in Week 1 should be a very interesting matchup to see which of these championship contenders is going to get a head start on the other for the playoff chase. And finally, our defending champion, Drew. He got a total expected team value of $213 on his $197 budget, but had no massive single-player overspend to account for that low player value. His best value buy was Eric Ebron is what I have typed over here, who he picked up for $6 less than expected. He spent $13 more than Yahoo would have expected on Duke Johnson Jr., which now looks like a pretty okay buy, knowing the season-ending injury to Lamar Miller. However, the Texans have made so many trades over the last couple days, I'm not really sure what the backfield is going to look like there, so it's probably going to be some sort of a timeshare. Well, I guess we'll have to see what it looks like. And that's it. This has been a heck of a lot longer video than I was expecting to spend making it. And the entire purpose of making it was just to provide some sort of cover for that video I had made for Lee. Special shout out to Jesus for the blessings upon Lee and for the rest of the league this season. Good luck, and we'll talk to you all after Week 1 is completed.